All right. All right, so pal, I'm obviously, I follow the Instagram page. Congratulations, you got your challenge coin this week. From Mike and the boys at DSG, right?
Mm-hmm.
I know that we've talked, in the past about, jujitsu and life skills versus survival skills, jujitsu for self-defense versus jujitsu for the points and whatnot. I see sort of a shift in your Instagram recently. You've been pointing, sort of focused on self-defense, survival skills, strategy, stuff like that. And my question is, like, why the sudden shift? I also see, the guys going and doing stuff outside of jujitsu. The team. What are your thoughts on that? And what are your thoughts on the coin? Survival skills versus life skills, all of that. What do you think?
I mean, because I think like jujitsu is a necessity for like it's a life skill. It goes back to like those times before, all the guys in the Boy Scouts started becoming priests, touching on little boys. Like all of these things, like gun safety, tying knots, like all these starting fires. I think the only thing the Boy Scouts didn't have is like fighting, self-defense. But I think those are all valuable skills, like almost like quote unquote primitive skills.
Yeah, survival
Like
skills.
survival skills, swimming, all of that stuff. And you hear that all the time, the debate between sport jujitsu and it as a self-defense, like what works and what doesn't work when strikes are involved. So I think, self-defense and jujitsu is I think, the best martial art out there for that. And then it's like boxing, Muay Thai, those things are additives to it. But being that it's a life skill, we kind of focus. It's kind of become so popular that the jiu-jitsu community kind of focuses too much on just competition medals, which is fine. It's great. It's super fun to watch and all that kind of good stuff.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Yeah.
I know that every other Wednesday you've been offering completely free women's self-defenses classes. And I think that sort of maybe I forgot to add that too. It's like I see that you're connecting the jujitsu with the actual self-defense. If you could speak about that as well.
Yeah, it's because the self-defense means like you have to learn to strike. That's why I took up boxing years back, is because it's like, okay, I'm not the greatest at jiu-jitsu, but I felt comfortable with it. Now it's like, okay, now the next skill set. It's like, I'm not great at jiu-jitsu. I can be definitely better. I can definitely and it's not that I put it away. I still train. I still roll with you guys every night. I'm not one of those guys who, don't roll with their students. I still do privates with Professor Gabe. Cobrinha comes out here and does his seminars, stuff like that. It's just like adding another element to jiu-jitsu, because not like you go to 90% of the academies, like less than 1% of them compete, and it's not very often because it's like real life jobs, families, all that kind of stuff gets in the way. There's all these variables that go on. So
Yeah.
like most academies, it's a small percentage of people that actually compete in the sport. And most of them that do, it's like once, a couple times a year. Not everybody's doing it like quote unquote professionally, I guess
Yeah.
people say. So for us, it's like we still compete as a team, but it's like not everybody has the time, or like we like to go as a team as well, but it doesn't always work out for everybody's schedule.
Yeah.
So for me, it's that balance between going to competitions and competing, but also keeping reality in perspective of why we're really here.
Yeah.
And that's where the self-defense, especially for women, because Mike from DSG and them always make a good point. They're like, well, they're not going to rape you. Most of the time, they're not going to attack men. They're going to attack women. So that's why I got so adamant about training women and offering free training for them, because they're the ones that are more vulnerable. But most women don't take it serious enough to even come to something that's free.
Yeah.
See what it's about. But I'm still, I still show up. I don't care if there's 10 women, 15, 20. or 3. I still do the same thing every time because I think it's important. It's a life skill. It's a yes, it's a martial art, but it's a skill set as well.
Yeah.
And I think, like Mike talked about when he gave me the challenge coin thing, this bad boy right there. You know, it's just a little shelf with like all the gifts students and stuff giving me over. And
I like your little princess there.
yeah,
It's from your daughter.
from my princess. So yeah, it's one of those things where I was always into guns, and I got more into guns where Ollie, one of our students here, really pushed me into guns. And then, not that it became too difficult, but I live in LA, so I met Mike and them, and they're based in LA, so it made it easier for me to train with them versus, you know, and I trained with Ollie for over a year.
Yeah.
Just like every Friday. Because I think shooting with guns and learning how to use that is like Mike said when he gave the coin, is like, it's like the modern day samurai, right? It's like the modern day weapon. Like those guys back in the day that lived by the Bushido code was like they're respectful, but they're also warriors, right? The mindset of like, if I have to fight, I'll fight. If I have to die, I'll die. And that's what I think most men would, in here, would say, you know, about their loved ones and family. You know, and so if you say it, you can't just say it, you have to actually be able to produce,
Yeah.
you know, results if that situation or if circumstances come your way. So that's, you know, fighting with your hands, you know, fighting with weapons. Now you're not going to walk around with a big ass samurai sword.
Yeah.
But the modern day sword is, I would say, is like the CCW carriers, the guns.
Yeah.
That's like our modern time.
Different kind of steel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why and then for me, it's like tying everything together. Fighting with guns, fighting for guns, learning how to shoot proficiently, learning how to not be scared of the gun, because that's a big thing too. Like carrying it and there's one in the chamber, like when you first put it on your body or on your person, whatever you want to say, or in your bag, it's like a thing in your head like, oh man, there's a load of...
It's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're riding dirty right now.
Right.
Yeah.
One misstep with my finger, like,
Yeah.
so it comes with training, just like jiu-jitsu, doing a proficient armbar every time from this angle. The more you do it, the better you get. And it's like the boys at DSG always say too, you rise to the level of your highest training, or you always fall to the highest level of your training, or something like that. So that's why for me the mindset was always, if we're going to do self-defense, it's tying everything together. And for me, I'm not going to tell anybody to do something that I don't do.
Yeah.
So that's always been my mindset. So, you know, the beach training, the water survival, like, I did everything. And I still do. I still practice everything. So that's kind of what took me on the journey, and like presenting it to everybody. And if they want to join, they can. They
Yeah.
don't have to. But I'm trying to push a mindset of versatility and having that mindset of not quitting.
I feel like I'm hearing you say, like, you asked yourself the question, like, you know, with my role as a husband, as a man, as a coach, is jiu-jitsu by itself enough?
Yeah, I mean, I think yes and no. It can be, but you don't want to, I wouldn't just want to say, like, is 10 rounds in your gun enough?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can be, but there's stories where it's not.
Yeah.
Right? So I would say is the more skill sets you have, the better off you are.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like learning how, because like they teach us in self-defense, it's like you don't want to go to the ground. It's not a grappling match. There's nobody saying 2 points.
2 points. Yeah.
Reversal, 1 point, or
Yeah.
near fall, whatever the case may be. Where there's no rules in the streets. The streets don't play fair. So for me, it's like evading and creating space. So you got to use your hands. Punch, get away, deter, like get away from any kind of fight, you know, that you can avoid.
Yeah.
Avoid all situations at all costs, even if you try to walk away before. So, yeah, for me, it was always, you know, yeah, it is. It's because it's one of the most proven powerful martial arts you can do, but I think you could do more.
Of course.
But that's, you know, not everybody has that mindset. It was like, oh, it's enough. It is, but then it isn't.
Yeah.
So that's why when they see me doing all these things on Instagram and stuff like that, I hope it, like, you know, raises some little tentacles on people, like, oh, maybe I should try it. Maybe,
Yeah.
you know, coach is doing it. Maybe there's something to it. And then when we have conversations about it, you know, and I tell them why I do it, then, you know.
Yeah, I think I you know, my wife, she's been doing the women's self-defense. I really appreciate, you know, we talk about the idea of jiu-jitsu as self-defense, but then the Wednesdays come along and then we make that connection, right? It's like the striking, jiu-jitsu for self-defense, using it for sweep to get back up to your feet, and technical stand-up, creating distance, escaping, surviving. You know?
Exactly. And that's why I think MMA is great. But again, too, there's rules in MMA too.
Yeah.
And we're not going to do it. You know, we're not going to do Alex Pereira's head kick, you know, because you can slip and fall on it. It's not about that. Knocking someone out. You punch and fight for what you have to get away.
Yeah.
Or if it's a woman versus like a big man, you fucking punch to get away to your gun, because that's a great equalizer.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Mike O'Dowd always calls, you know, or the DSG boys always say, it's the nuclear option. It's the last resort. But if you have to use it, you better be proficient enough to shoot straight, shoot accurately, get away, and, you know, do what you have to do.
Yeah.
So that's where the mindset of that samurai is, like, you know, if you're fighting for your life, you hopefully have the skills to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so.
A lot to think about. Well, congratulations again on your, you know, on being awarded by the DSG guys. Thank you so much for that. A lot to think about. Thank you, Spout.
Yep.